Hello and welcome to the history of Gundam Wing. Today's episode we're going to be talking about the Wing Gundam, and here we go. The XXXG-00W Wing Gundam was developed in the L1 colony cluster by the engineer Dr. J as a tool of revenge to use against the Oz organization for the assassination of the pacifist leader of the colonies, Hiro Yui, whom the Gundam's pilot was codenamed after. Wing was sent to Earth with Hiro to commence Operation Meteor, at the same time that each of Dr. J's fellow scientists developed their respective Gundams as well. However, Wing was intercepted during its descent through Earth's atmosphere by a United Earth Sphere Alliance assault carrier, commanded by Zex Marquis. Hiro destroyed both of the carrier's Ares units with his Wing Buster rifle, but Zex used his Leo suit to grapple with and weigh down the Gundam. Wing then crashed into the Pacific Ocean near the coast of Japan, and Hiro abandoned it. After leaving Wing Gundam at the bottom of the sea, Hiro enlisted as a student at the St. Gabriel Academy in order to disguise himself. He later stole several underwater torpedoes from an Alliance naval base with the intention of destroying his Gundam before it fell into enemy hands. However, Wing had already been saved from Oz by Duo Maxwell, the pilot of the Gundam Death Scythe. Wing was set to self-detonate, but Duo deactivated the device. Duo later encountered Hiro on land as he raised both of their Gundams out of the sea on autopilot. Unaware of Duo's allegiance, Hiro fired the stolen torpedoes at the two suits. Though they only caused minimal damage, still the fact that Hiro knew the Gundanium's impact tolerance made Duo realize he was Wing's pilot. After Duo helped Hiro escape captivity from the Alliance military hospital, he recovered both of their Gundams from the sea. Hiro repaired Wing Gundam by stealing parts from the Death Scythe behind Duo's back, and he used it for a mission to destroy an enemy aircraft carrier transporting Gundanium alloy. Hiro later used Wing for a mission to destroy Oz's Northern Pacific Coast supply base, during which he once again encountered Duo and repaid his debt to him by firing Wing's Buster rifle at the enemy Leo that was coming up behind. When Oz sent mobile suits to attack the St. Gabriel Academy with the intent of killing Relina Dorlin, Hiro used Wing to counterattack as he believed Oz had discovered his hideout. Wing took out most of the enemy's suits with his beam saber, while impaling the last one with his shield after using it to save Relina from falling debris. During Wing Gundam's mission to the New Edwards base, all 5 of the Gundam pilots were united in thinking that they were about to destroy Oz completely. However, Wing destroyed an Oz carrier with his beam saber before Hiro found out that it held the pacifist leader of the Alliance military, Field Marshal Naventa. Oz's leader, Treize Kush Renata, had tricked the Gundam pilots, and the ramifications were clear when Oz took over the world unopposed. When Hiro was alerted to Oz's plan to self-detonate the New Edwards base missiles in order to eliminate the Gundams, he used Wing to break into the missile silo and disarm the explosives. Sometime later, Hiro used Wing to team up with Duo in destroying an Oz Island base near the school they had transferred to. Wing Gundam's next and ultimately last major mission with Hiro was in Siberia. Here, Oz was planning to launch their new Taurus suits, and 4 of the 5 Gundams arrived to prevent their deployment. As soon as Wing arrived, it intercepted Zek's Tallgeese unit, and they engaged in a beam saber duel. Though they seemed evenly matched, Wing managed to gain the upper hand when it sliced the Tallgeese left arm off. However, the duel was interrupted when Lady Un threatened to destroy the space colonies if the Gundam pilots did not surrender their suits. In response to this, Hiro activated the Wing's self-destruct device while standing just outside the cockpit, destroying his Gundam and nearly killing himself as well. While Hiro spent more than a month recovering from his near-death experience under the care of fellow Gundam pilot Troa Barton, Zex had taken Wing Gundam's remains with him and began to rebuild it for an intended rematch, as he felt both cheated and disgusted by Lady Un's actions in Siberia. However, Oz's parent organization, Romefeller, ordered Zex to have the Gundam's remains destroyed. Zex tricked Romefeller by simply destroying a dummy, and had Wing taken to his base in Antarctica in order to continue its reconstruction. Though the Wing Gundam was mostly rebuilt at Zex's base, its highly calibrated inner systems were completely destroyed in its self-detonation, leaving it at a disadvantage. Zex also had the self-destruct system removed, to avoid another interrupted duel. However, Wing was left in the base as Zex and Hero began their rematch, as Hero had chosen to use Troa's Gundam heavy arms instead to avoid any sense of reluctance between himself and Zex. During the battle, Troa used Wing to prevent Romefeller's search party from interfering and destroyed a pair of Ares that were following Relina's transport. When Romefeller's fleet arrived, Troa converted Wing into bird mode and picked up heavy arms as he and Hero made their escape. When the 5 Gundam pilots returned to space to stop Oz from taking over the colonies, Hero left Wing Gundam behind on Earth to avoid enemy detection. Sometime later, Wing was found underwater on Earth by Sally Poe, who eventually turned it over to Noin. After the two recovered it, Sally was temporarily imprisoned by Oz. Noin then brought the Gundam to the rebuilt Sank Kingdom's underground hangar. After Hero returned to Earth with Katra, they eventually arrived at the Sank Kingdom as well, and Hero was once again reunited with his Gundam. He would soon after use Wing to lead a counterattack against Romefeller forces, attempting to invade Relina's pacifist nation. After much convincing from Noin, Katra, and Relina, Hero agreed to stay in the Sank Kingdom with his Gundam to defend the nation from future threats. When the Romefeller Foundation sent an army of Virgo mobile dolls to crush the Trace faction at their base in Luxembourg, Hero used Wing Gundam to help defend the Trace faction in order to prevent Romefeller from spreading their forces any further. Wing naturally proved to be much more than a match for the Virgos than Trace's Leos and Ares. However, the Gundam's right leg was damaged during the battle, though it did destroy several more enemies with the Buster Rifle while laying on the ground. As more Virgos began to surround Wing, Trace spoke to Hero on the Gundam's intercom and encouraged him not to give up. Hero managed to get the Wing back on its feet, but it was completely blasted into a building and disabled completely. After the remaining Virgos were destroyed in a suicide attack by 3 of Trace's soldiers, Hero exited Wing's cockpit and abandoned his Gundam for the final time. Soon after, he was given Gundam Epion by Trace, though Hero would later replace that suit with the Wing Gundam Zero. Sometime after the battle at the Luxembourg base, the abandoned Wing Gundam was captured by Oz and taken to a base on the grounds of a military hospital for repairs. While there, it was fitted with booster rockets for traveling into space, though one engineer asked another why the Gundam needed modifications for spaceflight, since seemingly nobody remaining on Earth was capable of piloting it. When Trace attempted suicide in space by taunting Zex into firing the battleship Libra's main cannon directly at him, Lady Un suddenly awoke from a long-term coma on Earth, commandeered the idle Gundam, and launched it into space at full speed. Rapidly switching Wing out of bird mode, Lady Un arrived just in time to push Trace's Tall Geese 2 suit out of the way of the devastating path of the laser beam, taking the full force of the laser. The Gundam was almost completely disintegrated by the blast, with only its head and torso remaining afterwards. Lady Un then emerged from the cockpit, as she was wearing a spacesuit, and jumped into the Tall Geese 2's hand. Although the Gundam was never seen after this, it's not entirely sure if it was ever completely destroyed, given Wing's history of surviving destruction over and over. Hey, thank you for watching the history of Gundam Wing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.